starting off a new week with you. We have a couple quick headlines to cover first today on this Monday after Easter. In fact, the first involves Easter itself, the most significant holy day for the world's Christians. This is how services looked last year in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. This is how they looked on Sunday with Vatican City under the same lockdown as surrounding Italy. Pope Francis, the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, participated in one of many services shown on TV and online as millions of Christians virtually attended church following social distancing guidelines on the day that commemorates Jesus Christ's resurrection. Some churches held drive-through and parking lot services, and some worshipers planned to celebrate in person anyway. And that brought up a number of legal questions and lawsuits in America as issues of health restrictions and religious freedom clashed with one another. Many business...
Hey, just like in the classroom. It's buffering.
Crucial parts of the U.S. economy have been shut down for weeks because of coronavirus fears. Unemployed and furloughed workers have fears about making ends meet.
There are a lot of people like me who are just wondering how long this is going to be.
Some help is on the way, though. The first wave of...
Alright, well, I believe we're on Chapter 5, the judicial branch, it rules.
Checks, direct payments to Americans from the government's $2 trillion stimulus package were sent out over the weekend. For those who are eligible, hundreds if not thousands of dollars.
Alright, I went ahead and turned off CNN 10. Predictably, the news today is centered on the virus worldwide and in the United States. Also, the weather, since we're having a rash of tornadoes. I sent you guys some assignments through Messenger. I hope that you got those. I hope that you're engaged. I don't expect you to turn in anything fancy to me, but it's nice if you can spend some time studying what we have to cover. And I will go ahead and read from this book. I chose it because it's applies to all the different subjects that I teach, so that I can do one video for all of you. Alright, well, let's dive right in. I believe that we're supposed to be starting on judicial branch today on this. Oh well, let's try it. Having discussed the executive, that's the president, and the legislative, that's the lawmakers, we now arrive at the judicial branch, and that's judges, or the court system. The judicial branch is charged with interpreting the Constitution, and in any discussion of the United States government, it's always mentioned last. I think I already read that to you, but I'm going to read it again. Justices, who are they to judge? The highest court in the land is called the Supreme Court, proving that while justice may be blind, there's nothing wrong with her ego. So, because supreme means, you know, like you order a supreme pizza, you get the best. So, Supreme Court means the best, I guess. It means it has everything on it. And, though the moniker may seem more appropriate for an omnipotent group of superheroes than 9 withered octogenarians, in other words, they're saying that you got 9 people who are on the Supreme Court. That's how many justices we have. And they're always 80 plus years old, it seems like. A position on the court is very prestigious. We all know what prestigious means. The process for selecting a Chief Justice and 8 Associate Justices is complex. As each receives a lifetime appointment, a justice only leaves the bench by retirement, incapacitation, or removal by impeachment. So, what's it mean to be incapacitated? Incapacitated. It means that you don't have capacity. You can't do something. So if I'm incapacitated, I can't, say, teach. Justices cannot be fired, laid off, or outsourced, blah, blah, blah. We covered that the other day, too. Diversity has become a consideration for the first 100. I'm going to skip over that. Once nominated for the Supreme Court, a candidate goes through a confirmation process overseen by the Senate. In recent years, this process has grown noticeably politicized. Politicized means if you're a Republican, you don't support the nomination that the Democratic president made, and vice versa. If you're a Democrat, you don't support the nomination that the Republican president made. There's a little more to it than that, but that's what it means to be politicized. And then they have a litmus test. Okay, we talked about that the other day. I'm going to skip on. How does the Supreme Court decide what cases to hear? Clearly, it cannot come running every time a fat guy sues a hamburger joint. Do you think they have that much time in their hands? They do not. Do you think the court is loafing? There is already a pending lawsuit regarding your careless accusations. They are but 9 feeble old people up against Americans, the most litigious people in the history of the planet. No, the Supreme Court only gets involved in the most difficult, important, and seminal cases. And if you are fortunate enough to find yourself in an intractable and tragic situation, you too could join the exalted ranks of a Roe, Miranda, or Nixon. But before you get there, you must travel a long and perilous legal trial. Bring Gorp. Seriously. Oops. Let's see if I thought I skipped the page there. Enter the lower courts. Seriously, enter the lower courts. These exist to ease the burden on the Supreme Court, to lessen the load on their fragile, osteoporic, uniformly hunched backs. Uncomfortably hunched backs. These courts are called lower courts because they're lower or worse. Now, it's kind of kidding. They're not really worse. It all starts with the U.S. District Courts, the first stop whenever someone decides to make a federal case of something. Judges in these courts can barely... This is not true. It says that they can barely read, and instead of gavels, they bang their thick skulls against their desks to bring the court to order. It is not unusual for a district court judge to throw his sandwich at a lawyer he dislikes. Now that is all false. They're just trying to have fun. This is no surprise. Many cases brought before district courts are unsatisfactorily resolved. These cases move to the next step, the U.S. Court of Appeals, also known as the Court of Sore Loser. Now that's not true either. These are 11 U.S. Courts of Appeal. While not the highest court in the land, it is considered the most sarcastic. Requests to these courts are met with, "Wow, great motion. You must have gone to a really good law school. Finally, if a litigant feels he did not get the result he desired from the appeals court, it is on to the Supreme Court. And if this is a this is a big if the Supreme Court feels like it. So the appeals court, you get the U.S. district courts, the lower courts, the U.S. district courts. Well, the U.S. district courts are the lower courts. Then you go to the U.S. Court of Appeals. So if you lose your case, you appeal it, and then it goes to the next level. And then from there, if there's something of a constitutional nature, it can be appealed again to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they probably won't hear it, but if they do decide to hear it, that's where it comes from. Let's see. Inside the Supreme Court. Cameras have never been allowed inside the Supreme Court. Do you ever see notice they draw pictures all the time when there are court cases? Because they don't like cameras in a lot of courtrooms. And those who have entered its hallowed halls must take a sacred oath not to reveal what they have seen. Nevertheless, a handful of scattered eyewitness accounts and sketched interpretations have emerged over the years, offering Americans a tantalizing glimpse into the most mysterious of the three branches of government. Oh, this is so cute. They have like people flying around like poltergeists or something. I don't know. They're just... I'll let you see the pictures. Yeah, you can... I don't know how funny they really are. Let's see. If I Were a Supreme Court Justice by Ed Helms. When I read earlier in this chapter how the job of Supreme Court Justice is a lifetime gig, I immediately realized it's the perfect job for me. In other words, he wants job security. Plus, I'm pretty interested in the law. Well, that would help. A Supreme Court Justice is the custodian of our legal integrity. Integrity means. And must lead by example. If you have integrity, you're good. You're just. That is why I would start off on all my remarks with, for example. For example, if I were a Supreme Court Justice, I would make it illegal to break the law. Just seems like a no-brainer, people. I worked with someone that was like that. He was a really, really good store manager. And his philosophy was, if something went wrong, make a rule against it. And which I didn't really respect that approach. I would approach every argument with an open mind. Too often, Supreme Court justices let their ideologies determine the outcome before they've heard the arguments. Also, I would let my faith completely inform my decision making. I mean, let's be honest. There really is only one judge. His name is God, and we won't go there. He's making fun of it. He's saying that he would leave it all up to his faith in religion. Justice Ed Helms, however, would make it a point to be the most unpredictable judge on the bench. Swinging Ed Helms, they'd call me, because I could go either way on any case, and also because I'd use my position to get another thing I would do as an active judge is revisit poor decisions that the court has made in the past. In one case, the court granted the federal government maritime authority over inland waterways. I firmly believe the government should not have the authority at any time, let alone maritime. I don't think he knows what he's talking about, so it's not really funny. So, I guess the point of this guy's little discussion is that a lot of different thoughts could go into what would be a Supreme Court justice, and supposedly it would be funny to have his perspectives, but I don't think they're funny at all. Something on how to dress for the Supreme Court. I think they wear black robes. The next one is campaigns and elections. America changes the sheets. Well, I'm going to stop there so that maybe this won't be too long of a recording for you. Thanks for humoring me today. Stay engaged and socially distant, and pray we get back to school pretty soon, because this is a hard way for us to try to learn, isn't it?